Welcome back to the channel, you guys, and if you're new here, I really appreciate you checking out the content. Today's video is in regards to the Quadmula Siren F5 Split Standard and the Split Mini. What are the differences, and what things maybe you should consider if you're thinking about getting into either one of these quads? So let's go ahead and hop right into it. So first, let's go ahead and cover the similarities. Any Quadmula frame that you buy is going to have the same design philosophy behind it. The Freestyle frames, the intention of them is that you're trying to have a lightweight build that flies amazing. The feeling of the characteristics in flight is really good, spot on. You feel like you're very connected to the quad because the tune is really good, and everything, it just feels good as far as building it and putting everything together just makes so much sense. And I have to say that that is absolutely true for both of these frames, the Mini and the standard version. You have the same design features such as the C-lock mechanism for how the arms come together in the body. That is really convenient in regards to having to ever swap out arms. If you ever do happen to break any, it's very easy. All you do is remove one screw and you loosen up the other, and you can slide the arm out and put another one in, and then bam, you're done, ready to go. And that is a feature you get on any one of their Freestyle frames, but definitely for the Mini and for the Siren full size. Another really good quality of life feature with any of the Quadmula frames is the use of the PS3 spacer in the case of the 5-inch frames. They use some PS2 spacers for the 3-inch frames, a little bit slightly smaller, but overall the concept is the same idea. You have a countersunk screw that's actually going into a spacer that's holding anything that's TPU to the frame. And it's very convenient because it really does a great job of making sure that your TPU isn't going to be like torn through with the screw or anything like that. That is something that I really hated when dealing with any other frame. I would either have to use really big washers to try to prevent that, or sometimes there just really wasn't anything you can do to avoid it, and it would just happen. Sometimes even an entire GoPro mount would just come right off, and that was a huge pain in the ass. That does not happen on any one of Quadmula's frames. Overall quality of both these frames is exceptional. The quality of the carbon is really good, and that means that you can get a really lightweight build while not having to give up too much in durability. I'm actually really shocked considering how few arms have actually broken between the Siren full-size standard and the Mini. I've broken, I think, maybe 2 or 3 arms with the full-size so far, and I do fly this one way more. I have more of these built. I have 3 total right now, and I have the Mini. This is the only Mini that I have, but I've only broken 1 arm on this guy, and honestly, that break came from me getting stuck in a tree about 60 feet in the air, and it actually came down right on some freaking concrete, and it broke an arm. But every other crash I've had with this frame, I have not broken a single arm, which is really surprising. So with that, let's go ahead and move into some of the differences. The first obvious difference is the size. The full size versus the Mini is about 10%, 15% different, right? So side by side, you can kind of see the difference overall. And because of that, in all dimensions, it's slightly smaller, including weight. My average Mini build is about 30 grams lighter than the full-size Siren build that I normally put together. Now, if you think about in terms of power to weight ratio, if you have the same motors on this build as you were to run on this build, that means that the lighter guy is going to have more power overall, and it's going to get up and go, right? Which is actually a big benefit to some people or particular styles that you might be into. Now, me personally, I actually appreciate the slightly more weight that I get from the full-size Siren. I like the slightly bigger wheelbase of the Siren because of my style, but we're going to get into style here in just a second. Another one of the main differences you want to consider is the electronics that you can use with either or. The Mini is specifically intended to be used with a 20x20 stack for your FC and your ESC. The full-size Siren is intended to be used with a 30x30 stack. So depending on what your flavor is, you're going to want to choose one or the other. The other thing to consider is the fact that the full-size Siren was intended to be used with any VTX on the market. It doesn't matter whether it's a 20x20, 25x25, or 30x30 even, you have the room and the mounting back here to be able to support that on this particular quad, as opposed to the Mini, which only supports up to 25x25. That means that you can fit up to a DJI O3 Air Unit in here very comfortably. There are other 25x25 mounted VTXs, such as the Avatar one that you can stick in here as well. But if you're looking at a much bigger, larger VTX that you might want to use, that's something you also want to consider, perhaps like the HD0 1 watt. You're going to want to look at the full-size Siren for that guy. I really haven't been flying FPV for that long, but in the time that I've been flying, when I first started, there wasn't a whole lot of talk about 20x20 stacks on Freestyle builds. There were some people trying it, but there's definitely dependability issues that I'd seen around the internet community, people having problems with the smaller format of electronics. But now these days, you're getting bigger ESCs that are in a 20x20 format and can definitely support some bigger, beefier motors, something maybe even the higher KV category that you couldn't support before. But nowadays, you have all that at our fingertips, and some people will prefer to build with smaller electronics, and I think that's definitely where you want to look at a Mini. I'm currently running a T-Motor F7 HD Mini flight controller in my Mini build. That's a wonderful flight controller because it is a full F7, and it has everything that I need. It is HD capable because I use digital, and it's really convenient for that fact. It's using running a BMI 270 gyro, and if you're interested in the tune or any of my tunes, of course, I do have a community Google Drive that I put my CLI dumps on, as well as some cool STLs if you're looking to get any of my TPU prints. I will have that linked in the description below for you guys. The ESC that I'm currently running on my Mini build is the T-Motor 60 amp ESC that recently came out that has the bigger FETs, it's got the bigger pads to solder to, it's just a very convenient ESC to use. It's very compact as far as its overall thickness, so it fits in this build really nice and cleanly. And yeah, overall, I have to say that's a beast ESC. I've not had any issues whatsoever, haven't had anything burn up on me, and I've really put this thing through hell, and it's been standing up to it, and I'm really glad because that was one of the big concerns I had, was finding a solid ESC in the 20x20 format. So now that I've got dependable electronics in the 20x20, I know that I can put them in my Mini, and I'm not going to have any issues, and I absolutely love that because this is what I really like to fly for my proxy style. So let's go ahead and talk about style and why you might want to consider one over the other. In terms of style, what do you typically do when you fly? Are you the kind of person who likes to flow through tight gaps and nice close proximity to things, maybe with it's in bandos or office parks or something of that nature? I definitely think that the Mini is something you're going to probably want to check out first. Now, in terms of doing big open field flying, or maybe even in parks or around trees and things like that, I definitely can do proxy, no problem with this build, a full-size Siren, but I definitely like having a slightly bigger wheelbase, a little bit more stable feeling in the air, and the overall size of it really does help me with my momentum getting over those big open field areas. So I actually really enjoy, because of my style, I like flying the full-size Siren. Another thing to consider is if maybe you're thinking about building a chasing rig, you want to have slightly bigger props, you want to use maybe slightly bigger motors. That is something I think the Siren full size is going to really help you out with. This actually can support up to 5.5 inch props, whereas the Mini, right now I've got the PB and Js on there, and these are 5.1 inch, and as you can see, it's quite close. I don't think I would even want to push it to 5.2 inch props on here, because you're probably going to start, touching tips, tip to tip. So I don't think that's necessarily a great idea. If you're looking to use some bigger props, maybe some bigger motors, definitely look into the full-size Siren. A couple of our Quadmula team members are big fans of the Mini because they are very much into proxy flying. They like flying whether it's at a bando or at a nice office park where you've got some tight gaps, things, and you're flying within close proximity. And again, that's where the Mini absolutely shines. Your overall style and how you plan to use the quad is completely on you, and that doesn't mean that you can't do proxy with this one. I do it all the time. I fly bandos. I just flew one this weekend. Perfectly fine with the full size, and you can do open field flying if you want to with the Mini. It really doesn't matter. It's on you. It's a preference, of course. It really comes down to how I like to fly, my style, the electronics I plan on using. And if you have any more questions, you guys, please drop them down in the comments below. I'd be more than happy to answer all of them. If you have any specific questions you'd like to ask directly, always reach out to me on Instagram. I do everything I can to respond immediately and try to give you the best answer possible, or help you out with anything that you may have a question about. If you're interested in picking up either one of these frames, there will be some affiliate links down below for you guys to check them out. Of course, you don't have to use them. Just go to quadmula.com, look what they're all about, pick one up, try it out, let me know how it is, tag me in an Instagram post or something. I love you guys. Have a wonderful day. Take it easy and happy flying.